Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and today I'm going to show you how to punch around a circle using our Creative Memories border punches. Now these are generally designed to cut a straight edge. This particular one, the Baroque punch, actually is a frame punch. It'll go around a corner, and our Border Maker system also works for this. These are also mostly designed to cut straight. But now that we have the jumbo circle pattern for the custom cutting system, it makes it so easy to cut a circular design and decorate the edge using one of our border punches. So this is one that I did with the Baroque frame punch. I also have this one that I did using the picket fence, and this is the cartridge that comes with the Border Maker system for everyone who purchases it. This is one I did using the new On the Road Border Maker cartridge. Now this cartridge actually sold out when it was released a couple months ago, but Creative Memories has reordered it and it will be back. So I don't mind showing it to you. I don't feel like I'm taunting you if you didn't get it yet. This is the On the Road. I think it's On the Road. Here's one I did with the Cloud Border Maker. This is with the smaller circle. I just used the regular custom cutting system because you end up with this extra circle on the inside, so you might as well keep going. Here's the cable chain. This is the seashell punch. See how cute these look, and what a fun design that could be for like a title page or to accent a special photo. Here's the daisy flower child. Sorry, it's not called daisy chain. And you can see here, this was one of the ones I was kind of learning on. I learned some tips I'm going to share with you about this. And then here's one that worked out a little bit better. Now you do end up sometimes with little excess pieces. There are ways to measure this and make it more perfect. And there are other CM advisors who have shared videos about that. But I just find that for me, it's just easier to punch by eye. And then later on, if I want to, use this on a layout, I can just put an embellishment or a photo or something over the little section that maybe isn't quite perfect. So this is the way we're going to go today with what to me is faster, maybe a little bit more free form method for punching around in a circle. So if you remember from watching other of my videos, we have two kinds of punches and border punches. And that is the type that cut a pattern that removes from the paper, and then the type that cut a pattern that stays attached to the paper. So the Baroque punch, you can see it stays attached to the paper, whereas like the seashell, the flower child, comes apart. So it works with both of these. You just are going to end up with something a little bit different in the end. But you can always take your circle and cut out the middle if you have one of the ones that stays attached. So you can get the same kind of effect. All right, and so I'm going to go ahead and start with the flower child, because I punched out a sample to kind of explain to you what I'm going to be talking about as I'm doing my demo. So the secret to punching one of these circle shapes is to be familiar with your punch, to look in here and see where the edges are, where it stops and starts. Let's see if this blue helps you to kind of see, where's the silver that the punch comes with, and where's the negative space. So here's a sample that I punched out earlier, just a single one on a straight edge. And basically what we're going to try and do is align our punch so that these two little edges line up like this. So when I'm showing you in the circle, I'm going to talk about the edge of my cutting blade being right up next to the open space. Okay? And hopefully when I get going, that's going to make a little bit more sense. I'm going to use this super hot pink paper because I love pink. And hopefully that will be something that'll be easy to see when I'm cutting things upside down for you. So I'm going to start with my jumbo circle for the custom cutting system. And you can do this with any of the sizes of the blade. We have 3 blades. I just have 2 of them out right now, but red, green, and blue, and they each give you a little bit bigger or smaller dimension from the edge of the pattern. For whatever reason, I always seem to default to the red. Make sure both of your little legs are in the groove. Cut around. And if you don't have these new kind of hexagon shaped blades, some people may have the more round ones, you're really going to want to upgrade to these because they swivel and they're so much nicer than the original blades that came out with when this was released like 20 years ago. Okay, so here's my beautiful circle, and I'm going to take my flower child punch and I'm going to flip it upside down. And the first one's not that hard. I just want to align it so that the fattest part of the circle is right here in the middle, as best as I can do that. All right, so there's my thing. It's just aligned here in the circle. I'm going to pinch it down and hold it, but I find that I have an easier time cutting if I do it the downwards way and not upside down. All right, it also makes it easier to get the confetti out. Come on out there, you. Okay, so now I'm going to take this section of the pattern, and if you remember from when I showed you with this little blue piece, this is where it connects. This edge of the flower is where this connects. So that's what you need to know about whichever punch you're using. So I'm going to take this piece of the flower, and that's what I'm going to look for as I align it up in here with this little triangle corner space. So I'm going to put this in here. Now you want to make sure, like right here, you can see that empty space down here at the bottom, this side by my thumb. You can see that empty space, but I want to make sure that that whole flower is on the paper and not over into here, because that's when you're going to punch over and it's not going to look good. And we may have that happen at the end, but so I'm just going to take this so that the edge of that flower is right up against the edge where the cut is, but it doesn't go into the cutout spot, so that I know that I have paper all the way in here where I want to cut. And see, it left a little arrow, but we're not going to worry about that because we're going to cut that out later. And again, I'm just going to come in here, position the edge of my flower close to this little cutout, put this in the center so I'm staying circular, and we're just going to punch around all the way as best we can. For whatever reason, this one little section doesn't like to punch through. All right, I'm going around. So hopefully when you try this, you won't have any trouble figuring out what I mean about looking for this little bit of triangle that shows you where you're aligning and making sure that your whole punch area is on paper. And we might at the end have a little bit that overlaps. I don't know. I can't remember about this particular punch, how it lined up. You're not going to want to use your punches on super thick cardstock either. If you have like some glitter cardstock or some of those things, it can damage your punch. I mean, you can try it, but this works best on regular cardstock or weighted designer paper. Okay, so here's what I've got. I have a space that's bigger than my flowers are going to be. So when I cut this, I am going to have a little bit of overcutting. So I'm going to try and just align it with one of the sides. Well, let's do the same one like that I've been doing, so that I only have one section that doesn't look great. And so right here, you can see this is where I've overcut or had to double cut through to make this work. And so that's, again, the part that I will just cover with a embellishment or, you know, put something over it and nobody's ever going to know. And then you just take your scissors and just kind of clean up these little spaces where you have the excess paper. And it'll be a different shape cut for everything. Pretty much it's always going to be a triangle just because you're taking a straight border punch and cutting it in a circle. But you just go all the way around, trim those out, and then you have your finished circle. All right, so hopefully that made sense to you. The same technique works just as well with the Border Maker cartridges. So you just have to look and just get used to looking. Let's take this piece. Now let's do some white actually. And I'll cut again a big circle. And we'll do one of the attached ones. We'll do the clouds. The clouds one's actually a little tricky. And I learned a tip that hopefully will help you. So here we go. Here's my circle. Remember, you always want to make sure that you've cut through, move your paper so you know that it cut all the way through, because if you have to go back and finish up a little cut, it's so much easier to do it before you've moved your template. All right, so here we go. This is my circle out of white. We're gonna cut some white clouds in a circle. This one's a little tricky because it's not as forgiving as this one that has a lot of rounded edges. But we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna cut upside down. The punch actually goes in a little farther, so the back wall doesn't really stop that paper as much. You can kind of tuck in there a little bit. So here I'm gonna punch the clouds. Now I'm gonna mess this one up on purpose and show you that I could do that same technique where we just do the V of the shape. All right, so you see in there, I got the V, but if I do that, it gives me this weird kind of half cut where it's a little bit jaggedy. So what I found with the clouds works is if I take this little cloud and align it over that cloud, it seems to work better. Oops, I don't want to have anything stuck in here. So I'm gonna take my cloud, I'm gonna double over this cloud over that cloud. All right, so you see that there's this little cloud under there. I'm doubling over it. And then I get a nicer edge. Oh, I still got a little bit of a hiccup right there, but let's see. Line up my cloud. And it just makes it a little bit neater than right here where you have that little jaggedy edge. But in any case, I mean, a little time with your scissors, you can smooth out these little jagged edges. All right, so I'm not gonna go all the way around because you can get the hang of that. You don't need to watch, and for whatever reason, the microphone on my camera really picks up that punching. So here I've got this little edge that doesn't look quite as pretty, so I'll just take my scissors and, you know, smooth it out a little bit, finish the look that I want. You know, but it still could go all the way around, you know, all the way around my circle and look like this fun cloud border. So even though these aren't made to go around in a circle, you can encourage them around in a circle. Some of them work better than others. Some of them work better on different shapes. A lot of times there will be something at the end where you connect it that's not perfect. If you look on this one, you can see right here, this is where it joined together, and I did have to trim it a little bit. But again, put your embellishment, your picture, something over the top of it. Nobody's ever gonna know that there was a, you know, that's where your join is. They're just gonna think, ooh, that little punch looks cool. So play around with different sizes of circles, different punches. Get to know your punches. Get familiar with where they connect, how they punch. I have not tried, for instance, the Kissing Fish. I don't know how this one would work, just because it doesn't end. If like the kiss was on the side, I think we could make it work, but right here, I don't know that you'd get the same kind of a look. So I'm personally not going to really try it with this. I didn't think that I would like the look with the picket fence either, but once I punched it, I kind of like it. You can see it's a little jagged. I don't think I'd use it by itself, but if you wanted to put a circle, a smaller circle underneath and use this as a little triangle border, hard to see, sorry. You know, you could do something like that. But it's just a technique that in theory works with any of our punches. In reality works much better with some of them than it does with the other. And it's just fun to play with and figure out which designs you like. I think my favorite is this Baroque punch. And even though right here where you see it didn't quite line up right, I mean, that would be super easy to cover. And like, I don't know that you notice it right away anyway, because it's so close. But I love the way that this looked. And just because I was able to look underneath and see where these two little pieces were touching as I punched it out, I was able to get a very, very nice even look going all the way around my circle. And wouldn't this be nice with a, you know, a focal point picture or a title or something on that. So I hope that you will try using your border punches to punch around a circle. And if you have any questions about it, please ask me in the comments. This is not my idea. I don't know whose idea this is. This is something that some of our Creative Memories Japan advisors have been doing. A lot of the US advisors have picked up on it. It's just going like wildfire. So it's just a fun way to get more use out of the tools you already have. And we all love that, right? To find a new use for something that we have sitting on our shelves. So enjoy your jumbo circle and your border punches. Have a great time creating and figuring out the fun things that you can do with this technique. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that if you've liked what you've seen, you will hit subscribe and be able to watch more of my videos in the future. Happy scrapbooking!